Did you take care of the baby? Where is my daughter?
Early one weekend morning, my sister-in-law Ashley, who hadn't called ahead, showed up at my place. Confused, I had no idea what she was talking about. She confronted me fiercely.
Didn't I tell you I was going on a trip and needed you to look after my daughter?
Indeed, 2 weeks ago, Ashley had asked me to take care of her 6-month-old baby. But at that time, I had clearly told her I couldn't babysit for a whole week due to work.
I told you I couldn't, remember?
Most importantly, on the day of her trip, Ashley never handed her daughter over to me directly. So, where has little Sarah been taken, and where has she been all week? I had a terrible feeling and looked at my sister-in-law, my face pale.
I don't know. I clearly left her at the park in front of our house.
What?
As Ashley said this, looking away, a weird voice escaped me. We were supposed to be talking about her child, yet it sounded like she was discussing leaving a doll or something at the park. I don't know, it was almost surreal.
What does she think of her own daughter?
Worried about my niece and appalled and angry at my sister-in-law, I was overwhelmed with emotions, but knew I had to find the baby. So I rushed out of my house. My name is Mia. I'm a 28-year-old preschool teacher, living in an apartment in the city with my husband, who's an office worker. We don't have children yet. It's not that we're not thinking about it, but just not now. We're enjoying our work and life as a couple, agreeing that we want kids someday, but we'll let nature take its course. My husband and I used to enjoy our weekends together, going out or taking trips on long weekends, making the most of our time as a couple. But that was until about half a year ago. Recently, something has changed in our life, gradually reducing our weekend couple time.
Mia, I'm sorry to drop in like this, but can you watch my daughter for about 3 hours? I need to go shopping today.
Like many mornings, Ashley suddenly showed up ringing the doorbell, asking me to watch her baby. Ashley is my brother's wife, making her my sister-in-law. We're the same age and we're classmates in college. We were in different departments, so we weren't exactly friends, but I clearly remember the reputation Ashley had back then. Even in college, her charming looks were her pride, and she was popular with guys, but that also led to endless drama in her romantic relationships. I had heard such rumors more than a few times. Honestly, she wasn't the type of person I wanted to willingly associate with. She was the type of person I wanted to willingly associate with. However, a few years after graduation, my brother introduced Ashley as his fiancé. He was an alumnus of the club she belonged to in college, which is how they got close. I was surprised to become relatives with a former classmate who had such a notorious reputation. Although I was initially apprehensive, I thought we could have a decent relationship as relatives since we were both adults, and I wouldn't get too involved. At first, everything went smoothly with Ashley keeping her distance, but things changed drastically after she had a child.
Please, can you look after Sarah for just 3 hours?
That day too, Ashley suddenly appeared at my doorstep with her niece, saying there was a flash sale for something she desperately wanted. What again? Didn't you go shopping just last week? Besides, I was about to do some housework, and then go out with my husband.
Then just an hour? I have to hurry or it'll be sold out. I'll make it up to you.
Okay, just for an hour, alright. I always end up babysitting because of Ashley's incredible pushiness.
Thanks. Then I'll leave her with you.
Wait, when did you last feed Sarah with her milk? Before I could finish asking, Ashley with a big smile quickly closed the door and left. In the stroller, my niece started crying, separated from her mother. "Sai, come here, Sarah." Reluctantly, I picked up Sarah and took her inside. When I lifted her, I realized her diaper was completely full. I hurriedly changed her and gave her some milk, and poor Sarah, probably hungry, started drinking vigorously. Again, I wonder if she's properly cared for normally. It's always like this when I take care of Sarah, and that's part of the reason I can't quite bring myself to say no. Now it's 10 a.m. Around this time, most mothers would be busy with household chores or entertaining their kids. I would think Ashley, a stay-at-home mom with a baby, wouldn't have time to go out so often. But thinking like this makes me feel like a nosy sister-in-law, so I don't say it out loud. I've tried contacting her a few times, but she always says she didn't notice, not seeming to feel too bad about it. Look, I don't mind babysitting, but please stick to the time you say. I have my own plans, and if you're gonna be late, at least call.
Sorry, I meant to hurry, but I ran into a friend. We got to talking, and time just flew. But Mia, you're a preschool teacher and used to kids, and Sarah loves playing with you.
That's not the point. And are you feeding her milk on time? Just as I was about to ask, Ashley swiftly picked up Sarah as if she had finished her business.
Here, this is for you. Say bye-bye to Aunt Mia, Sarah. Thanks a lot.
Ashley handed me an envelope with a few dollars, looking pleased with herself, and left. This has been the usual pattern lately, leaving my weekends disrupted and me feeling frustrated. I'm not saying that stay-at-home moms should just focus on housework and childcare, or that they shouldn't go out and have fun, but I do expect some basics. Like, consult in advance if you're coming over, and stick to the time if you're leaving your child with me. That's all I ask.
Brother, today Ashley suddenly left her child with me again.
Please tell her to hold back a bit. It's really troublesome when she comes over without any notice. That night, unable to hold back any longer, I called my brother Jim to tell him about today's incident.
Sorry about that. But she did pay you, right? Just think of it as a way to earn some extra cash.
It's not about the money. We want to spend our weekends together as a couple too.
Ashley has few people to rely on and is probably feeling insecure. I'm always busy with work, and we're far from our parents' home.
But that doesn't mean she can do this every time.
I trust you, since you're a preschool teacher and Ashley's classmate. Please help out, as a favor to your brother.
My brother, who works in sales at a major company, often has long hours and business trips, leaving him rarely home even on weekends. He's generous with money due to his guilt of not spending much time with his family, and tends to be lenient with Ashley.
Just make sure from now on, if she's coming, she needs to consult in advance.
That's a must. If this keeps up, I won't be able to help anymore.
Okay, I got it.
My brother abruptly said that and hung up the phone. In my line of work, I do want to help busy parents with young children. Living away from our parents and not being able to rely on her husband, I can understand Ashley's anxiety with childcare. But still, I honestly don't want my weekends taken up by unpredictably babysitting my niece every week. Sometime later, on a cold winter day after work, I had just finished grocery shopping and was returning home when Ashley called me. Sometime later, one day in the middle of winter. It was a day in the dead of winter. Some time had passed. After finishing work and shopping for dinner, I got home and received a call from Ashley.
Mia, I have a favor to ask.
I'm planning to go on a trip to Hawaii with some friends from next Monday. Could you look after Sarah for about a week? I am planning to go on a trip to Hawaii with some friends from next Monday. Could you look after Sarah for about a week?
One trip, and for such a long period. Does your brother know about this?
He knows. But Jim? He's away on a business trip for 3 weeks starting today.
Ever since Sarah was born, I haven't had a single chance to travel, and I really want to see my friends. Please, I'm asking you. Indeed, it's tough for families with a newborn to travel easily. If they want to go abroad, they may not have the opportunity for the next few years. However, I naturally couldn't agree to it.
It's impossible for a whole week.
I have work during the day, and I can't take that responsibility. If you're going to be away for so many days, why not ask your parents?
But my parents' place is so far.
I thought Ashley, pondering for a while, would finally give up this time, and I felt a bit relieved.
I know. Then why not leave Sarah at your daycare during the day?
Huh?
You go to work with Mia, and it's no problem to pick up and drop off together.
Despite my astonishment leaving me speechless, she kept listing reasons that were convenient for her.
So it won't make a difference if one more kid joins. I'll pay for the daycare fees.
At the daycare where I work, there's a system in place that requires proper procedures to be followed before we can accept a child. Yet she expected to use the daycare without any preparation, which is extremely selfish.
No way. You can't just use the daycare that conveniently.
We went back and forth for a while with her saying, please take her and me, responding it's impossible. But we couldn't come to an agreement. Feeling the weariness from work and eager to start preparing dinner, I was getting increasingly frustrated.
Alright, I'll call my brother now and discuss it with him. Maybe he can ask our parents to help. That way, there's a chance my mother might come to stay at my brother's house to help out.
It would be easier for you too, right, Ashley? To my surprise, she suddenly started to panic at my suggestion.
No, you don't have to do that. I really want to ask you, Mia. Please, I'm counting on you.
Leaving such a vague response, Ashley abruptly hung up the phone. It almost seemed like she didn't want her brother or our parents to know about this situation. I tried contacting Ashley several times afterwards, but even after a night had passed, there was no connection. Worried about being blamed later for not declining properly, I decided to leave a message on her voicemail.
Hello, regarding the matter of taking care of Sarah for a week from Monday. Both my husband and I work on weekdays, so we can't take her in.
If you really want to go on the trip, please arrange for your parents or temporary daycare yourself. I thought this firm refusal would surely make her give up. If she had any complaints, I expected her to call back, but there was no response to the voicemail. So I believed that this was the end of the matter. Then came Monday, the day Ashley was supposed to leave for her trip. On that day, just to be sure we wouldn't run into her, both my husband and I left for work earlier than usual. Fortunately, there was no contact from Ashley, and she didn't show up with Sarah when we returned home either. She must have given up on the trip or asked her own parents instead.
I'm glad she finally gave up on asking us to babysit. What a release.
I was completely at ease, not knowing that I would regret not confirming with Ashley right then. This was until a Sunday night, a week later.
I'm back. That was so much fun. Mia, thank you for taking care of Sarah.
Suddenly, Ashley appeared at our front door.
Here, this is a souvenir. It was expensive, you know.
She said this in rapid succession, and I was so stunned by the situation that I couldn't react. Without any regard for my confused state, Ashley barged into the house asking, "Where's Sarah?"
Sarah? What do you mean?
You took care of her since Monday, didn't you? Oh, I'll definitely pay for the daycare.
I felt a cold sweat run down my back.
We didn't take care of her, though.
What? That's ridiculous. I asked you to look after Sarah because I was going to Hawaii, remember?
I said no. You did listen to the voicemail, didn't you?
Ashley kept insisting one-sidedly that she had left her child with us, but I never actually took Sarah from Ashley directly.
No way. Then where's Sarah now?
I don't know. Where did you leave your child for a whole week, Ashley?
Finally realizing that Sarah wasn't at our place, Ashley started to panic.
I do know. I mean, I clearly left her at the park in front of the house.
What? Left her at the park? What do you mean?
I was utterly shocked by Ashley's unexpected words.
Why would you do such a thing? Explain yourself.
I pressed her for an explanation, but Ashley wouldn't meet my eyes and refused to look at me.
So I brought Sarah here to go on the trip, but nobody was here, and with the flight time approaching, I was in a bind.
Apparently, in her panic to make the flight, she attached a note to our front door and left Sarah in her stroller at the park in front of our apartment building.
I made sure to attach a note to the stroller with Sarah's name and your contact information. Mia?
My sister-in-law kept insisting that she did nothing wrong.
I thought someone would notice and contact you, Mia.
So, according to her logic, it's all my fault. Or maybe it's the fault of whoever didn't contact me, despite having my information. After saying that, Ashley fell silent. I remember that day was particularly windy, so the note might have been blown away.
What are you doing? We need to find Sarah right now. Call the police.
No, I can't. Jim will get angry at me.
This isn't the time for that. It's your child we're talking about.
I'm not at fault. I contacted you well in advance. It's your fault.
Ashley began to rant again, insisting that I, who had only left a voicemail and decided on my own, was entirely to blame.
I don't know. You deal with it.
And with that, Ashley ran off at full speed. Hearing the commotion, my husband came out from the living room. I explained the situation to him, and we immediately contacted the police. The police informed us that a baby girl had been found on Monday evening. We hurried to the designated police station as a couple. Fortunately, Sarah had been found and protected by someone who was passing by the park. She had received treatment at a hospital and was then sent to an infant care facility. However, she had been left in the stroller under the cold winter sky without milk, leading to dehydration. At the time she was found, Sarah had no identification on her. Fortunately, Sarah could be identified because the baby clothes I had sent had her name Sarah on them.
I'm so relieved that Sarah is safe.
But my relief was short-lived and soon turned into anger towards Ashley.
I found Sarah. We'll go with you to pick her up right now.
I called Ashley, but her voice on the other end sounded weary.
Now, it's midnight. Isn't it a bit late to contact? Gonna pick her up now would be a bother, right?
At that moment, I was struggling to keep myself from yelling at her.
Not a single word of concern for her own daughter. Yet she quickly complains about me going to look for her.
Ashley seems to have no sense of remorse or concern for her child, only thinking about herself.
Jim hasn't come back yet, so tomorrow is fine.
She said and hung up the phone. Staring at my silent phone, anger surged in me again. Feelings of disbelief and pity were jumbled up inside me. To control them, I focused on a single point and let out a long, thin sigh.
No more mercy, right?
Muttering to no one in particular, my husband nodded somewhat fearfully.
The mother is unable to come to pick her up, so we will go in her place.
I told the police officer. Sensing something from my demeanor, the officer proceeded with the matter in a businesslike manner. We explained Sarah's identity and our relationship to her and were able to take her into our care. Furthermore, to be on the safe side, I sent a message to Ashley saying I'm taking care of Sarah, so just leave her with me from now on. This was to prevent any complications if Ashley later claimed, "You took my daughter away without permission." I took action to avoid potential trouble. Shortly after, I received a lackadaisical reply from Ashley, complete with a casual emoticon. "Thanks. Take care of her." Now, there shouldn't be any more problems. This allows me to calmly prepare for Ashley's reckoning.
I will never forgive her. I resolved, holding the peacefully sleeping Sarah in my arms.
A week had passed since that day.
I've come to pick up Sarah.
Her brother, due to return from his business trip tomorrow morning, probably came to pick up the child before he found out. But the moment Ashley entered our house, she froze in her tracks.
Welcome back, Ashley. There, waiting for her, was my brother, Ashley's husband.
I had contacted him, asking him to cut his trip short by a day and wait at our house.
Did you enjoy your trip to Hawaii? Now let's have a talk.
At the entrance, Ashley turned pale as my brother, with a smile, handed her the divorce papers.
I heard everything from my sister. You left Sarah at the park.
But that is...
You knew that was putting our daughter in danger, right?
My brother, usually calm, had a tone in his voice that made it clear he was very angry.
I'll take custody. I want a divorce.
Ashley looked back and forth between my brother and me, her mouth opening and closing, but soon her face turned increasingly red.
What's this about? Enjoying this ambush? I properly contacted you to take care of Sarah.
It's your fault for not looking after her properly. Ashley pointed at me while stomping her feet, resembling a child throwing a tantrum. My husband calmly suggested, "Let's go inside first," and guided Ashley to the living room, then saying, "You three talk," he took the sleeping Sarah to another room. That's when I confronted Ashley with a certain photo.
If you're gonna blame anyone, it should be yourself, not me.
The photo showed Ashley enjoying her Hawaii trip, intimately close to a young man. Upon seeing it, Ashley's expression instantly turned rigid. Perhaps she had too many guilty memories. After all, the photo was evidence of her affair, which I found on Ashley's secret social media account. There were several incriminating pictures.
The friend you went with was a man, I see. I had thought it was a female friend.
Thinking back, there were always signs of something off. Why wouldn't she ask her in-laws, or even her own husband, to discuss the matter of her child, instead insisting I handle it?
She must have been hiding something shady. Given her reputation from her student days, it's not unthinkable.
I had a gut feeling about her actions. So I decided to check Ashley's social media account, which she's been using since her college days. Scanning through it, her public social media showed nothing unusual. But digging deeper, I stumbled upon a hidden account, cleverly concealed. And sure enough, posts that hinted at cheating began to surface. Going back to the posts from the start of our marriage, it appeared she had multiple affair partners, not just one or two.
Did you really think you could fool me forever, leaving the kids with me? Living it up on the money my brother made, you must have really enjoyed yourself.
Ashley looked down, silent for a while, then let out a small, annoyed sigh.
All this time, Jim and you were just focused on work, not even realizing we were being used. Ah, this is so annoying.
She slouched on the sofa, leaning against the backrest, and then, unbelievably, she looked at her brother and sneered.
You want custody? Just watch, you'll say work comes first and end up unable to handle it.
My brother fell silent, looking frustrated. He probably couldn't argue, because she had hit the nail on the head.
The worst case scenario, if we divorce, that's fine, but as the mother, I'm getting the child support.
Ashley smirked nastily, as if calculating in her head how much she could get.
For Sarah's sake, it's no big deal, right? After all, you've always been willing to give any amount of money for our daughter, huh?
It was as if Ashley was certain she was in a stronger position. I coldly retorted, "Unfortunately, it's you who'll be paying the child support."
At my words, Ashley suddenly frowned.
What? What are you talking about?
While you've been enjoying your leisurely alone time, I've already informed the lawyer, our parents, and soon a formal notice will be sent to your family too.
Ashley became slightly anxious when the words in-laws and attorney were mentioned.
What? I'm a mother, aren't I? Mothers have an advantage in custody battles, right? I know that much.
Well, that's if you've been fulfilling your duties as a mother.
I then thrust another notebook in front of her.
What? What's this?
It's Sarah's daycare record.
It has everything recorded. Every time you left your child at our house, how long we took care of her, everything. Being a child care professional, I always keep a record whenever I take care of a child. It includes everything, like how many times diapers were changed and the amount of milk given. And when I mentioned that I had already consulted with a lawyer and shown them this notebook.
Ashley's mouth fell open in surprise, making her look quite foolish.
This will be sufficient evidence of your lack of parenting, I said.
What are you doing deciding all this on your own? She exclaimed.
You knew, didn't you, that if a mother is deemed unfit, the economically stable father has an advantage in gaining custody?
Ashley's eyes widened in shock.
I decided to deliver the final blow. Plus, even as a stay-at-home mom, you'll have to pay child support. Can you manage that for Sarah, right?
Confronted with the truth, Ashley was stunned as if struck by lightning.
It seems there are not a few women in the world who, despite being unfaithful, believe they can unconditionally win custody just because they are mothers.
No way, that can't be true.
In front of her, her brother once again spread out the divorce papers and quietly said, "Please sign this now." At that moment, tears began to spill from Ashley's eyes, which had been wide open until now.
Wait, I was just lonely. I still have so many friends who are single and having fun.
Her facial expressions skillfully shifted from fiery anger to tearful pleading. In the past, my brother might have excused such behavior as a part of her charm, but not this time. Silently, he handed Ashley a pen to sign with.
Raising kids is tough and stressful, plus I'm still in my 20s, right? It's okay to have a blast once in a while.
Is that your excuse for putting your own daughter in danger?
When I said that, Ashley glared at me like I was a monster.
What do you know? You've never even had a child.
She threw the pen she was holding at me, but it bounced off and hit my hand. "Ouch!" I exclaimed instinctively, but it was her words more than the pain that really stung. I've heard that line a few times at work. That's what I thought, vaguely.
True, I don't have children of my own, but through my work, I've interacted with many children and their parents.
I said this calmly and clearly, looking straight at Ashley.
Children who are tossed around by their parents' selfishness are truly miserable.
And in the worst cases, some even lose their lives.
What do you know? You just take care of them at work. Don't lecture me like you're someone important.
Your irresponsible actions could have cost Sarah her life. Don't you understand?
I yelled at Ashley louder than ever before, and at the sound of my voice, Sarah's crying could be heard from another room, startled.
But even if you say that...
Ashley, still showing no sign of remorse, was met with a cold stare from her brother. Despite this, she suddenly clung to him.
Please, I don't want a divorce. I can't lose the life I have now.
And then Ashley began to cry loudly in a fit of desperation. Her brother shook off Ashley's clinging hands. Still not ready to give up, she turned to me and began to prostrate herself.
Mia, please, ask not to divorce me. I can't stand this.
As Ashley lay sobbing on the floor, her cries echoed through the room while my brother and I remained silent. After a while, he stood up briskly.
I'm sorry, but could you take care of Sarah for just one more night? I need to settle this.
When I agreed, he forcibly dragged Ashley away as they left. Afterward, my brother and Ashley's divorce was finalized. Custody of Sarah went to my brother, and Ashley was ordered to pay infidelity compensation of $10,000 and child support of $200 a month until Sarah becomes an adult. Later, missing her daughter, Ashley cried to her lawyer, wanting to see Sarah. She even tried to ask her parents to help with the compensation and child support payments. But they told her, "You don't deserve to be a mother. At least get a decent job." Ashley, angered by this, turned to dubious means to borrow money and ended up being taken away by those people, or something like that. And now, as a single father, her brother recently overhauled his job responsibilities. He talked to his company and transferred to a department with fewer business trips and overtime.
The income is less, but time with my daughter is more important.
Saying this, my brother, who is struggling with the unfamiliar task of parenting, now seems more admirable than ever. I offer as much support as I can, and thanks to that, Sarah has been accepted into daycare this spring. And another piece of happy news, a baby has come into our lives too. What name should we choose? Where should we take the baby for outings? Thinking about these things has become our daily joy as a couple.